Hey, this is Lead With Who You Are. I'm Dia Bondi, and on this show, we're exploring and discovering and unpacking and playing with the idea of what it means to lead with who you are. And we're doing it with folks who do that themselves and folks who help us do that too. Today, we have with us Joanna Bloor, who helps folks literally lead with who they are. She's all about getting clarity on what it is you want to offer to the world and making sure that those who are buying what you're selling are doing it with intention. Joanna says, make sure that what you're wanted for is what you want to be wanted for. And when you do that, you are, in fact, leading with who you are. Let's go. You can ask for more and get it if you ask like an auctioneer. The book, Ask Like an Auctioneer, How to Ask for More and Get It, is coming soon. So go to asklikeanauctioneer.com and get on the list for pre-orders now. In the book, you'll learn the power of asking big, the one idea that holds us back from asking for more and getting it, and the 9 ideas I learned from the auctioneering stage that you can use as strategies to help you step into every ask with courage and conviction. Get on the pre-order list now for pre-order bonuses. Again, go to asklikeanauctioneer.com now. Hey, just a quick reminder. You can subscribe to this show on your podcast platform of choice. We're live nearly everywhere, and you can always listen to the show at diabondi.com. If there's a leader or innovator in your life who is at their shiniest when they lead with who they truly are, please share the show with them and rate, subscribe, and leave us a review. It makes a huge difference in the reach that the show has when you let everyone else know what you love about the show. Thanks so much. Joanna Bloor is a potentialist who has transformed thousands of lives worldwide. A former Silicon Valley executive, TED speaker, and trusted advisor to leaders, she's been described as a glittering buzzsaw that cuts right through the workplace bullshit. Her work is all around future-focused leadership and building experiences that bring teams into the future. Joanna's upcoming book, Tales of Potential, the Cinderella story you haven't heard, flips the script on a famous and underestimated fairy tale ingenue to reveal real-life success lessons hidden in plain sight. Joanna, so nice to have you. Joanna, you say when you pitch a project or go on an interview, when you hire or onboard a team, you've positioned yourself to sell or buy a person's potential and to make the ideas, their ideas real. So I'm having you on the show because actually a few years ago, I saw you in action and when you were giving a session at the 3% Movement conference, and we finally had a chance to meet. I saw you lead that session where you asked for a volunteer in the room, which I know is something that you're well known for doing, and helping them craft a way of speaking about themselves so that they literally lead with who they are. And not just what they're about from like a lowercase a, but from what they're really about with an uppercase, big capital A. And you've worked with folks in my network as well to help them clarify what they really want and the kind of impact they really want to have so that they can accelerate a very aligned career and have more success doing it. And I wanted to talk to you about how we can do that, how we can all do that, and we can all lead with who we are. So I'm so happy to have you today on the show.
I can't believe you knew me way back then, and we have mutual friends, and it's taken this long to get together. Finally, and hooray, I'm very excited.
I know, it's so wonderful. So I want to start with inviting you to describe a little bit about what you do, including basics like the format. You work privately with folks, you teach groups, And what is it when you're doing that work? What are you listening for and wanting to move with people that you work with?
In the workplace today, we are, in essence, buying and selling each other's future time. Like literally every single one of us is the CEO and founder of Us Incorporated. And our product is our future time. That's the thing that we all buy and sell from each other. Now, whether there is actually a financial transaction or not is a whole different story. But literally that's the only thing. The only time we don't do it most of the time, is if we make another human being. Like if you are a parent to a child, you decided to create a thing that you were going to buy the time forever, and there wasn't really a choice in the matter. Absolutely every single other relationship is somebody going, do I want to hang out with you in the future or not? And I sit here with that simple idea of, do I want to play with you in the future? And I sit here and I go, well, hang on a second. How we today, according to the rules of how you're supposed to do that, how we do that today is an appalling process. Like, it blows my mind how badly we actually offer up the coolest product on the planet. Like, literally the coolest product on the planet. We do a better job selling toilet paper than we do selling ourselves. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack there as to why. And I have no doubt, like, half of the people listening are all like, sell, I am not a commodity. And I sit here and I go, oh, come on. Think about the last person that you met. You were like, oh my God, I want to be in their orbit immediately. You bought a tale of potential about that person all by yourself. I'm like, we are all doing it. And what makes all of the magic happen in the world is when you buy, in essence, a tale of potential about somebody else, and they buy yours. Like, you and I are here today because over time you'll be like, oh, Joanna, kind of talking about crazy stuff at 3% confidence, doing her thing. Oh, we've now have a mutual friend, Christina, who was like, I've seen Joanna do her magic. I experienced doing her magic with her, which has brought us today. And future shenanigans are happening. So I start there because the how does it work and what do I do starts with the very simple concept of, if you, whatever it is you do, can make it easier for other people to choose you for who you are and what you're all about, magic stuff happens. And how we have been taught how to do that, how we have, like, what have we defined success as, like, all of the framework around it is this very us against them, winner takes all, combative framework, all, by the way, created by the Industrial Revolution. And actually, when it works, when it's fantastic, where everybody is happy with the product, is when it is generous and collaborative and optional and all of the words that do
and
not...
maybe even has both energy and ease at the same time.
All of the things. So then I sit here and I say, so now you're like, okay, so you are either on Team JoJo on this idea or you are not on Team JoJo. If you are not on Team JoJo, all good. Totally get it. You do what you want to. You do you. But if you're like, oh, hang on a second, I want to get better at buying and selling, because both sides of the equation matter. That's when I start working with people. And I either work with people who are sitting here going, either how do I sell myself better in a generous, collaborative, et cetera way, either as an individual, or how do I get my team to sell themselves better? Like, this is actually, like, I do love working with individuals, but gosh, when I get a team of people where I'm like, oh, we could change you all, magic starts to happen. Or somebody comes to me and goes, I understand I need to buy better. And I'm actually doing a working session with a company right now where literally the head of department was like, I don't think I know what I'm buying. Because most people, especially if you're a couple of layers away from your team, are like, well, I buy them to, and I air quote, get shit done.
What I wonder is, what you mentioned before, when you come across a person who hits you in such a way that says, there's so much potential in this human and I want to put a stake in the ground for future time with them, near them. They get to have my attention, my heart, my ear. That sometimes hits us not intentionally, right? Like you're sitting in a room or across a dinner table or at our networking event, or you come across someone, through a mutual friend or whatever, and it's like, whoa, that really hit me and I want that. But what you're pointing to around how do I be a better buyer is like a more intentional, how do I actually architect making the kinds of purchases of people's future time and potential in a way that is very intentional. I'm not waiting for it to hit me. I'm going to pursue it. That's a little different.
Like, how do you intentionally offer up the most fabulous version of your future self to the rest of the world? Like, the unpacking of that is absolutely massive, which is why, while I say, like, the end game is by the time you have hung out with me for as long as you need to hang out with me, you are clear about what it is you want to offer. You are clear about who you want to offer it to. And you are clear about why they are going to care and say yes, and how to get in front of those people. Like, you literally have almost a go-to-market strategy for you. Like, that's the end result. But I come back and say, like, the very first step in the process for me, and I literally just hung up with a young woman who is going through the experience with me right now. Like, the first question is, well, what do you want? And absolutely, it doesn't matter if they are 7 or 70. Absolutely everybody comes to me first because they're like, oh, I don't know. What am I supposed to want? Tell me what the things are I'm supposed to want.
How can we expect other people to say yes to something we don't even know what we're offering?
Right.
Or we sort of outsource that and let other people choose for us what they want from us, and then no wonder our lives, careers feel maybe out of control, right? Or control is maybe not the right word, but adrift or misaligned, or right, not satisfying, lack of fulfillment, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And a lot of people will answer that, well, what do you want? They're like, oh, follow your passion, or what are you really great at doing? And nobody has any answers to those questions either. And so what I have in my toolkit of toolkits is rubrics and frameworks that help people navigate through that. This is why I call myself both a potentialist, because what I have learned about myself in doing this now for years is I can often see not only the who you could be, but the language to describe it really fast. This is why I pull people out of the audience, and it's the magic part of it. This is the part of me that everyone goes, oh my God, Joanna, you're like the fairy godmother. You come in and you go, ta-da, transform. That's why I call myself that. But I also I'm like your CRO. Like, I have been my entire career up until I started doing this for a living, because I was like, this is a cool product and I wanted to, but my entire career has been selling products and services to people who had no idea what this thing was. Like, my one of my very first jobs was with a small company called City Search way back in the day, and literally was selling websites in the internet in 1995. And the entire customer set couldn't even imagine what the internet was. Like, today, it's easy. Like, today, everybody understands what a website is. In 1995, people I don't even understand what you're talking about. Similar
what
to,
is that for?
Right, similar to, there's a lot of people out there who are like, I still don't get blockchain. Like, please explain blockchain. Like, their heads can't actually imagine what it is. I've been doing that for decades. And so similarly, the product of the human time is a thing that people can't see, is a thing that people put frameworks and narrative and language around, which is why people make weird decisions, really weird decisions about future
on the
time.
Buying side or on the selling side?
Yeah. Well, on both, actually. I look at the whole thing and go, both sides of the equation, we are buying and selling literally like we're toothpicks. We are the most boring product ever. And I just go, let's, not only do we take this amazing product through an appalling process, but we miss the magic in it too. And so I come in with all sorts of tools to say, like, how do you help them think through that? And do use, like, we have a future design calculator where we use mathematics to help us predict the future.
Predict or define?
Well, in the using of it, you start to actually create what you think is your definition. And then using predictive mathematics, we're able to go, well, okay, if all of this is true, and here's your guesses about the future, this is your future score against where it is you want to go and what it is you want to do. And then somebody goes, often people go, oh, but that's not actually what I want. I go, well, then let's go backwards and really redefine what you want for your path. And so it's this kind of product iteration process that we go through.
Do you find at all that folks, when they start to really get serious about what they want, not from a big, dreamy, lofty horizon, follow my passion, non-specific, but very, adrenaline-oriented type of desires, like when they start to get really practical about it, do you find that they have like, I'm going to call them like goal shame? Do they like realize that they wanted something different than they thought, or do they have a hard time accepting what they want because it's different than they thought they were supposed to want?
I'm unpacking all of the question. The answer to that is I've had reactions across the board. For me, this is the fun part for me, because I'm never quite sure at the beginning of an adventure with somebody how they are going to react to the experience. Even though, and I say this because literally I just hung up the phone from somebody. So I have somebody who's actually picked 3 people from their company to go through this experience. And literally the first call is a conversation about how I'm going to make them do things that feel weird, and helping them understand that they have chosen to step into a place of uncomfortable. Now, I know that throughout this experience, this person's, and I call it the itty bitty shitty committee, is gonna do a number on their head, because I'm asking them to completely not ignore, but reframe rules that they believed were true into a whole new frame set. So I have some people who take the frameworks and the conversations and the transformation experience, and we give them, here's an experiment you can run, here's how to test this out, etc. Like we give them we almost baby step them into the experience, because for a lot of people it's kind of terrifying. And I can tell pretty early on whether they're going to be, where they're going to get. And so at the beginning of the experience, we run a lot of experiments with them to say, let's A/B test the product, right? And some people jump in the deep end and they go for it and they do all sorts of things, and the transformation is fast and is amazing. And other people who will barely put their toe in the water. But the truth is if I find that they are somebody who aren't ready to jump in the deep end, so to speak, we go down a different path with them, because while everybody comes to me for the transformation experience, comes to the team, whatever, everybody comes because they're like, hang on a second, we want to change the current paradigm. How they do that is, and where, what is the destination, always ends up being really unique to the person. And this is, again, a lot of the things that I believe. I don't think any program or experience should be one size fit all.
So if I've got I know what I want, I've defined for myself, give me an example of something that feels clear to you that somebody has arrived at a place that that's a good articulation of a thing to want.
So when I say, what do you want? What do you want to offer? So I'll use somebody that we both know. So when one of the folks that came to me early on and said, she actually came to me and said, I want to move. She was in LA at the time. I want to move to the Bay Area because this is where my future husband lives. And I see an opportunity in the technology space to help them tell better stories. She's a really brilliant marketer. And I said, great. Understand what success looks like. Now let's actually have a conversation at your offer. And I said, why are we actually here? And she goes, well, the company I'm with right now doesn't get me. I'm miserable. I'm bored. There was a bunch, she goes, the politics, all of the things. She'd be like, ick. And I said, well, let's actually sit down and have a talk about, what is your offer? Let's really get clear about the product first and what it does and why it's awesome and all of that sort of stuff before we start putting together a strategy plan. And so we probably spent that first, and again, this depends on the individual, but we spent probably 3 hours talking about the product and having a really deep dive on what made it unique, what made it valuable, why that was that way, and some of her unique background as into why all of that happened, and her current situation.
Is it that you start with a product, so we should all know what we're offering before we define what we want as an outcome of what we offer, or do we start with what we want?
What do you want, and what do you have to offer, and what do other people want, and what do they want from you is actually a multidimensional question. I have yet to see anybody come to me with a clear, like, this is what I want, and walk out the other end with like, and I'm on this path. It never happens because, and I'm going to use the example of the person we were just talking about. At the end of the conversation, I was like, well, hang on a second. I said, based on everything you're talking to me about, I said, it is abundantly clear to me that the product you've been trying to sell to your current company and the thing that they are buying from you are two different things. And no wonder you are miserable.
So you're looking and listening for gaps there, it sounds like.
It's both. It's sales 101. Like, does what the customer need and what the selling entity has to offer actually match? And in the human world, it's sadly, if somebody is bored, stuck, or scared, it's because it's not matching. And this is why, like, when you hear like 72% of employees are not happy in their work, that is why, like, their narrative around future shenanigans is not aligned with what your narrative of their future shenanigans is. And so I sat down and I said to this person, I was like, look, I said, before you stop selling your product to your current customer, do we want to make sure that they don't want to buy it just as it is? Because if you go out and try to market yourself to a new customer set who want you for a whole different situation, I said, you currently do not believe in the product. Like, there was a whole, like, her confidence in actually selling the product of her was completely shot by this terrible experience that she had. And I said, let's fix that first before you start marketing it to anybody else. Because if you go out and try to sell yourself to people and you're all like, oh, I hate myself, I said, no one's going to believe you. Nobody is going to believe you.
It sounds like what you're saying is sometimes it's easy for us to trash the product before testing whether it's actually, because it didn't work one place or it's not working in one way, it doesn't mean that it needs to be reinvented whole hog. We have to do some experimenting ahead of time to see, like, if there's just a mismatch and if there's a reset that can happen.
Right. And then you have the other end of the spectrum. Like, she was miserable. You have the other end of the spectrum, which is actually, I would say, the majority of the people that I work with who literally have no idea what it is they have to offer. The thing that they are weirdly and uniquely fantastic at doing is either A, so simple for them that it's like breathing, and they're like, but everybody can do this. And I'm like, maybe no. Because we all build our own kind of operating system based on our experiences, both personal and professional, that actually create the framework about how you think and how you have conversations and what is your offer and all of that sort of stuff. Most people have no idea how to even describe it, let alone learn how to sell it.
It is the product that you're offering. Yeah.
Right. And then you then sit here and go, okay, so now you have, let's assume for a second, we've had that kind of initial phase of like, well, what is the awesome product of you? Like, what is it you want to buy? Then I sit here and say, like, sales 101 is you have a sales funnel. You have consideration set, intrigue, desire, action, right? That's a very simple sales funnel. In the sales funnel of human beings, we go from consideration set to close almost immediately. Like, let's use hiring as a framework, as an example. Like, we sit here and go, I am going to spend all day, all time focusing on my resume. And I just sit here and I go, oh my God, please stop. Because all that does is get you in the consideration set. And then this interview thing is supposed to be the close. And there's no consideration set around how do you think about how your customer takes you through the sales funnel? And, you know, as an example, like if you're working with a recruiter, their job is to not, is a little bit to make sure you're qualified, but their job is actually to pitch you to the hiring manager. This is why they have selected you. Are you giving them language that pitches you? And what I see so consistently is, well, like if I said to anybody, like, why are you really good at what you do? The most common answers I get is I'm strategic, I'm creative, I'm really good at connecting the dots and solving problems and fantastic at getting shit done. And I go, boring, 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 because everybody says that. Everybody says that.
So is the point to be not boring?
The point is to, no, because not everybody, like, well, everybody is unique in themselves. And it's not about just having jazzy language. So somebody goes, ooh, you're not boring. It's actually to think through your sales process, because how your customers buy you is going to be different based on who they are. How do you intentfully think about how to make it easy for people to choose you using things like product constructs and sales constructs and even, dare I say it, pricing constructs, so that you are bringing the most fabulous version of future you to the table for people to choose. When you do that well, everybody wins.
So if I am bored, stuck, and scared, where's the place? I mean, you said that we don't always start with what do you want. There's different different entry points. But if I'm bored, stuck and scared, what are maybe the 2 or 3 questions I can ask myself to what are the first questions I might ask myself?
I would actually say don't ask yourself any questions is the first thing I would do. Because if you are bored, stuck, or scared, the inner critic, the little conversation you're having with yourself is already pretty awful. And if it had the answers, you would have already started doing that, because people are also not stupid. If you are bored, stuck, and scared, the first thing I always recommend to people is go out and do some product analysis. And yes, can you do it with us? Totally. And we actually help you facilitate with this, but go find people who have bought you in the past. Now, this is probably not your boss, because if you're bored, stuck, and scared, what they want to buy from you and what you have to offer are out of sync. That is the fundamental issue. But there are other people, either past bosses, mentors, coaches. I'd actually challenge people to not just do collies, because you don't need somebody just to tell you yes. You actually want to talk to people who have shown that they have been ambitious for you. Right? And it's a nuanced choice. Who are the people who you think are the people who are going to fight for you in a room that you're not in? Those people.
So once you've found those folks, maybe I'm not asking myself questions, but what am I asking of them?
You then say to them, look, I'm trying to figure out how to start thinking about the value of my time. You've purchased it in the past. Why was it valuable to you? Now, I will also tell you, the number one answer you will get back is, oh, you were really good at getting shit done. Which, all awesome, because you still need to get your shit done, because if you don't get your shit done, you get fired, right? They will probably come out with first, and then you go, thank you, I appreciate that, because all they are messaging is that they trust you. If somebody says you're really good at getting shit done, they're basically saying, I would keep buying, because however you make your magic happen, I want to buy that all day. So awesome. Then you say, thank you. That is amazing. But what I'm trying to figure out is like almost what is my operating model for getting shit done? When I was being my best self, what questions did you see me asking? How was it I made collaboration easier? What sort of strategic ideas did I bring to the table? And start asking those questions. What you'll find is they will start to give you the language. One of my other favorite questions, which will put absolutely everybody back on their heels and give them time to figure out how they want to answer this, is, I'm known for saying every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. which kind of freaks everybody out initially. I sit here and I go, like, the number one question you need to ask that is, well, what are they saying? Like, what are they saying? And so you can say to somebody, look, I understand you have been a champion for me in a room that you're not in. Understanding what you say to other people about the value that I bring to organization would be helpful for me to know.
So we do this unearthing, we collect all this data, we grab the language, and what are we doing with it now? Are we looking for patterns? Are we looking for themes?
Yeah, you're looking for patterns. You're also looking at that information and saying, is that what I want to be wanted for?
That's great. Is what people want me for what I want to be wanted for?
Exactly.
And then you start to create that good marketplace of alignment between what your offer is and what people want are shopping for from you.
Exactly.
Ah, beautiful.
And that, like, this is where is what you want to be wanted for, what you are wanted for, which sounds like a completely meta sentence, is actually the question to get answered, and helping people unpack that and explore that in a place that's safe and curious and encouraging is part of the magic that we bring to the entire transformation process.
This is such a beautiful theme, like across the board. And I can imagine there's lots of different ways that we can sort of get more and more clarity on that. What a beautiful destination to be able to even articulate for ourselves what we want to be wanted for.
Right.
So as we think about, to wrap up, as we're getting to the end of our time, if you think about leading with who we are, what is that phrase, what does it mean for you to lead with who you are in one sentence?
Oh, the clearer you are about who you are and what you have to offer, the easier it is for people to choose you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You can put that on a t-shirt. Joanna, if folks want to learn more, work with you, discover or experience what it is that you offer in the world, where do they find you? They
can find me at joannabloor.com. I am probably also most active on LinkedIn because it is the world of work. I have an opinion almost every day. So if you are interested in doing that, you can follow me and or sign up for the newsletter there. I also, just to shake shit up a little bit, just wrote a book called Tales of Potential, the Cinderella story you didn't hear. And yes, I just said Cinderella because I am the fairy godmother. You will find out all the more things. But if you're like, oh my God, I am a little bit bored, stuck, and scared, the book's a great place to start because I unpack all of the frameworks that we have been taught to be true that are basically nonsense. So it's a bit of a guidebook into how to start thinking about the future you and create your own happily ever after.
Beautiful. I love this. And I can't wait to see a world in which the marketplace of buyers and sellers of time is operating at its absolute peak.
Awesome. Me too.
Joanna, it's so nice to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And I look forward to hearing future episodes of your show.
Lead with Who You Are is a production of Dia Bondi Communications and is scored, mixed, and produced by Arthur Leon Adams III. Have a question or an inquiry? Reach out to us at hello@diabondi.com. You can like, share, rate, and subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite shows. Go to diabondi.com for the show notes to find our tools, frameworks, content, and programs to help you and your team speak powerfully and lead with who you are.